Hello everyone, welcome to the KZGN News. Today we'll bring you breaking news about the arrest of more terrorists in California, budget news from Sacramento, the latest presidential polls, the latest on the Ridgecrest real estate market, today's gas prices, weather, sports, and much more.
From the Rademacher Hills to Bee Mountain and the mighty Sierras, Ridgecrest to Inyokern and China Lake, this is your news for the Indian Wells Valley with the KZGN News crew.
Hello, I'm Tom Whitnick. Thanks for joining us for the news affecting Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley. In breaking news, the AP is reporting that authorities said Thursday that 2 people have been arrested on terrorism-related charges in California and Texas. The arrests include a refugee from Iraq who is charged with lying to federal investigators about his travels to Syria. A criminal complaint unsealed Thursday accuses Oz Mohammed Yunus al-Jayab, 23, of traveling to Syria to fight alongside terrorist organizations and lying to investigators about it. The complaint said al-Jayab, a Palestinian born in Iraq who came to the United States as an Iraqi refugee in October 2012, communicated on social media about his intent to return to Syria to fight for terrorist organizations, discussing his previous experience fighting against the regime in Syria. When he was interviewed by citizenship officials, he lied about his travels and ties, the complaint alleges. Ben Galloway of the Federal Defender's Office is the suspect's attorney. He did not immediately return telephone and email messages on Thursday. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Sacramento said al-Jayab was arrested Thursday morning in Sacramento. The federal complaint states, as confirmed by photo identification and U.S. CIS records, al-Jayab is a 23-year-old male who currently resides in Sacramento, California. Al-Jayab was born in Iraq, and he emigrated from Syria to the United States as a refugee in October 2012. Travel, bank, and electronic communications records establish that al-Jayab resided in the United States from approximately October 2012 to November 2013, and again from January 2014 to the present. He remains in refugee status to the present date, and as such, he is subject to the jurisdiction of U.S. CIS for purposes of this offense. Meanwhile, in Texas, the governor and lieutenant governor of Texas praised the arrest in Houston of what Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick called a terror suspect. He said, based on the facts as we know them, today's action may have prevented a catastrophic terror-related event in the making and saved countless lives, Patrick said in a statement. Federal officials say a separate arrest in Milwaukee that grew out of the Sacramento investigation is not related to national security. So, once again it is shown, the use of refugee status is a way terrorists are gaining access to the United States and right here in California. This will be a blow against the president's plans to let in thousands and thousands of more Syrian refugees. Well, Sacramento will be taking up next year's budget real soon now. The governor called for special budget discussions late last year. The goal of the budget discussion was to try and get the state legislature to go along with his plan to raise taxes to fund more transportation projects. He did this after making sure all the entitlement programs were covered first, including new programs, and even reallocating certain funds from line items that previously had been used to fund transportation projects. This was a trick ploy to put pressure on Republicans to go along with his plan to increase our taxes some more. This is not even considering that the revenue now received by Sacramento is reaching new highs and are all above previous estimates. Republicans are now responding to this trickery being pushed by Brown and liberals in Sacramento. Senate Republican leader Gene Fuller issued the following statement addressing Governor Brown's 2016-17 budget. She said, Governor Brown's record-setting budget proposal proves that California doesn't have a revenue problem and our state's priorities can be funded without extending or raising taxes. Budgets are about priorities and we can't go on a spending spree. She went on, the backbone of California's economic engine, agriculture and reliable energy, is suffering. Furthermore, we can't take our roads and water delivery system for granted and must address these fundamental needs that are in distress. We are committed to caring for California's most vulnerable people and keeping our communities safe, said Senator Fuller. Assemblywoman Shannon Grove also provided her response to the governor's budget. She said, California taxpayer dollars have poured into the state treasury this past year at an even higher amount than anticipated, and yet the Governor Brown insists he wants more money in his proposed $122 billion spending plan. Assemblywoman Shannon Gross said, it seems no matter how much money the taxpayers send to Sacramento, that politicians still want to raid their pocketbooks even more. Our state desperately needs to fix this poorly maintained highway system. But Brown's budget plans to fund in part with additional fees and taxes, including a new $65 fee on all vehicles, as well as higher gas and diesel taxes. Brown's budget also fails to adequately fund community-based services for California's vulnerable, developmentally disabled community. Instead, it ties their needs to funding to the extension of an expiring tax. Said Grove, on top of this, the state's desperate need for additional water storage to help our agricultural and urban areas continues to be ignored. It seems we have learned nothing from the last 4 years living with less snow and rain. We need to store the water when it comes, not let it dry up and shrivel when it doesn't. We want to see this legislature tell the governor and the people of California that our roads, our water supply, and those who truly need help from tax dollars should be the main focus when we debate the budget for the next few months. Gross said, it is wrong to shirk our responsibility to use working people's tax dollars wisely and cautiously, and prioritize legitimate needs first, not last or never. So the budget battle begins, and be real clear, this battle is the Democratic majority wants to raise taxes and fees that will affect each and every one of us. And the Republicans see the spending of what we already have as enough, and they wish the Democrats would first fund the top priority needs, then fund the nice-to-do line items. Now stay with us for the latest in presidential campaign polls when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Well, in new polls on the presidential campaigns, we get these results. In Obama's approval ratings, the polls are showing a major increase in his disapproval rating. Rasmussen now shows Obama with a 53% disapproval rating. The Economist poll is showing a 54% disapproval rating. In presidential campaign polls, we find these results. In New Hampshire, the latest polls there show the top 5 Republicans are Trump at 29, Rubio at 15, Christie at 11, Kasich at 11, and Cruz and Bush are tied at 10%. In the Democratic race, we see Clinton taking a slight lead over Sanders now. Sanders has been ahead in New Hampshire from the beginning, but seems to be dropping a little bit now. The polls show Clinton at 47% and Sanders at 44%, with O'Malley at 3%. In debate news, we do have 3 more debates coming prior to the launch of the first voting in February. On Thursday, January 14th, we have a Republican debate hosted by Fox Business Network. The main segment will be shown at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. The secondary debate will be earlier at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. This debate is being held in the North Charleston Coliseum and Performing Arts Center in North Charleston, South Carolina. The moderators for the main segment will be Neil Cavuto and Maria Bartiromo. The moderators for the secondary debate will be Trish Reagan and Sandra Smith. The candidates that will be in the main segment are the top 6 candidates in national polls, plus any candidate in the top 5 in Iowa or New Hampshire polls. The secondary debate will feature the remaining candidates. On Sunday, January 17th, there will be the next Democratic debate. It will be hosted by NBC and the Congressional Black Caucus Institute. It will be held in Charleston, South Carolina. We're waiting for more details on that one. Then on Thursday, January 28th, we'll have another Republican debate. This will be hosted by Fox News, and it will be located at the Iowa Event Center in Des Moines, Iowa. The moderators will be Brett Baer, Megyn Kelly, and Chris Wallace. So the Republicans continue to be attending debates hosted by Fox and other liberal-leaning networks like CNN, MSN, and CBS, yet the Democrats continue to avoid any debates hosted by Fox News. Oh, and in one other poll by The Economist, the latest numbers show 65% of the country believe the country is headed in the wrong direction, versus only 27% believe we are going the right direction. Those are terrible numbers for the current administration. In more government news, our own supervisor Mick Gleason has just been elected as the chairman of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. He takes over from David Couch. The supervisors rotate the chairman position every 2 years. They elect one of their own each time for the chairman position. Filling the position is hard for a person that lives here and has to travel to Bakersfield all the time for meetings. As supervisor, his time commitment there will likely increase a lot. Gleason was first elected to the supervisors by us 3 years ago. He will likely be running for re-election later this year. It's good to have our supervisor fill the seat of county chairman. Congratulations to you, Mick. Now on our monthly report on how the November real estate report from Ridgecrest and the Indian Wells Valley is for the November of 2015. Well, November's report is a very positive report. Total sales continue at a brisk rate. Anyway, the November report shows 34 homes sold. Prices range from a low of $130,000 to $380,000. This is a noted increase from previous reports. Total sales totaled a whopping $6.7 million. Last month showed $4.1 million in sales. This month, the average price for a home is way up to $197,000. But to be fair, this month's report didn't have any of the real low foreclosures we often see in the report. The current listing of pending home sales for December shows 16 sales pending. However, the rate for December could drop some because that is the slowest month of the year for real estate. Everyone is more interested in Christmas holiday versus buying and moving homes. Pending home sales in December are in the $73,000 to $322,000 price range. I also met with Gary Parsons yesterday. He's the city's economic development director. I asked him about commercial interest in the city. He informed me that he has a few new commercial entities looking at locating here in Ridgecrest, a couple manufacturing companies, and a restaurant. And he said there are potential buyers for the old Walmart building already, and that the buyers would likely split the building into 3 or 4 stores. So there is good interest in commercial property here as well. So 2015 is ending with a pretty positive outlook for real estate in Ridgecrest. Speaking of making money, you should have heard by now that the Powerball lottery was not won last Wednesday. The pot was estimated at $500 million. Well, with no one winning it on Wednesday, the next drawing will be on Saturday. The pot will continue to grow until then. Officials are estimating the pot could go over $700 million. Jeez, $700 million. That will be the largest pot in history. Last Wednesday, the odds to win it were about 292 million to 1. If a winner of a $700 million pot takes a lump sum distribution, they would actually get about $428 million after taxes. The previous record pot was won in 2015 with a pot of $564 million. I guess I'll have to get a ticket. After all, like they say, you can't win if you don't buy a ticket. All local lottery outlets are reporting increased ticket sales. Any store that sells the winning ticket can get awarded a prize of $1 million. That's a really big payout to the store. Now in KZGN's continuous effort to provide news and information you've asked for, here are today's gas prices for Ridgecrest and some surrounding areas. Well, since my last report on Wednesday, gas prices everywhere have held steady, and Ridgecrest has the lowest prices in the areas we are monitoring. If you're heading out of town for something, you can save money by filling up here before you head out. As a note, yesterday I was asked why we monitor the 4 places we do. Well, the answer is the route to Point Mugu, Naval Base, and partner to China Lake. It is along the 14, then along the 118 to Point Mugu. That's why we report Lancaster and the LA Valley area prices. And if people are heading north to Mammoth Lakes to ski in the winter or fish during the summer, they go through Bishop. So that's how we decided to cover the areas we do. As of this morning, Ridgecrest is ranging from $2.77 to $3.19 a gallon, Lancaster from $2.85 to $3.19, the LA Valley area $2.89 to $3.09, and the Bishop area $2.86 to $3.09. We have 4 stations at the $2.77 amount. Tune in Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for updates. We at KZGN always suggest you shop locally to support our local economy. Remember, when you pay sales tax out of town, you are helping those cities pave their streets instead of here. Now stay tuned for weather and sports when we come back. Thanks for staying with us. Let's go to Lane for the weather.
Thank you, Tom. From the National Weather Service, a storm system moving across the western U.S. will bring heavy snow on Friday to parts of the central and southern Rockies and the Mogollon Rim. Snowfall amounts of 1 foot are possible at the highest elevations. Meanwhile, severe thunderstorms are possible across portions of the western Gulf Coast. Temperatures across the nation. Carolinas at 56, Georgia at 52, Arkansas at 62, northern Texas at 52, Arizona at 51, and Los Angeles at 58. And for us locally, tonight, mostly cloudy with a low around 31, southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday, partly sunny with a high near 54, southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Saturday night, a 20% chance of rain, mostly cloudy with a low around 34, south-southwest wind 5 miles per hour. Sunday, mostly sunny with a high near 53 with a calm wind. Sunday night, partly cloudy with a low around 31, north wind 5 miles per hour. And Monday, mostly sunny with a high near 54, north-northwest wind 5 miles per hour. And that is your forecast for the IWV. Now back to Tom.
Thanks, Lane. And now here's Tom Heck with sports.
And a very pleasant Friday early evening to everyone. Let's start with local sports note. Tonight over at Burroughs High School starting at 6 o'clock, girls varsity basketball. They'll take on Hesperia, the first league game of the season for both teams. The JVs play a little bit earlier than that. The boys, meanwhile, Doug Hayes and crew travel on the road. They'll open up their league season tonight at Hesperia. JV's also playing before the varsity does. The varsity boys return home for their first league game next Friday night. That'll be against Oak Hills starting at 6 o'clock over at the Burroughs Barn. All right, UCLA had a huge lead against the University of Arizona last night. Bruins trying to get their first conference win. They hold on. Arizona scored 13 of the last 15 points of the game to tie the game, only to see Steve Alford's son, Bryce Alford, the head coach's son, hit a three-point shot with 2 seconds left to give the Bruins a much-needed win. The Bruins now 1-2 in the conference season. Arizona 2-1. All right, some other top 20 teams last night. Louisville beats North Carolina State 77-72. Notre Dame a winner. They beat Boston College on the road. Michigan State a winner. They defeat Illinois in Michigan. And also Duke over Wake Forest. Maryland beats Nebraska. Maryland very, very good this year. They are rated right now number 5 in all the land. Okay, NFL note. Sean Payton, head coach of the Saints, says he's going to stay in New Orleans. He's had a tough last couple years. The team's been 7-9 the last 2 years. Peyton just said he likes to stay and he likes that area. His family's there in the New Orleans area. So he was being courted by several NFL teams, namely the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins really wanted him to be their coach. Peyton really hasn't had a great season since 2009 when they won the Super Bowl. All right, let's talk about the Dolphins. If I were their ownership, I'd look at Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith was fired 2 days ago by the Buccaneers after only 2 seasons. They were 6-10 this year. I don't think they gave Lovie much of a chance. A young team. He had Jameis Winston as their freshman quarterback. And I hope that somebody picks up a very good coach in Lovie Smith. Coached many years for the Chicago Bears, had success there. NBA last night, Atlanta wins again. They beat the poor 76ers. 76ers 3-31 on the year. Sacramento beats the Lakers. Lakers streak. They had a 3-game streak going into Tuesday night's game. They lost that one also. So the Lakers now have a record of 8 wins, 29 losses. They are last in the Western Division of the NBA. Tonight, the Lakers will host Oklahoma. Now, last night, Billy Donovan, their head coach of Oklahoma City, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook were all attending the UCLA-Arizona game. Russell Westbrook, a graduate of UCLA. The Bulls get another win last night. They beat the Celtics, and the Rockets starting to play good basketball now. They beat the Jazz 103-94. All right, Eli Manning, the Denver Broncos have announced will start their playoff game on January 17th. They have a first-round bye. And Saturday, don't forget, some great games. Kansas City at Texas, Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. And then on Sunday, Minnesota and Seattle. It's supposed to be with a wind chill factor, negative 10 degrees up in Minneapolis. Boy, that'll be a lot of fun. Kind of like the Ice Bowl back in 1967, that memorable game when Green Bay played Dallas. Ask your grandparents about that game, kids. They can tell you about that one. Also, Green Bay at Washington. I don't think Green Bay is going to win that game, believe it or not. Washington, a very good team this year. And then we can't let it go without talking about yesterday's 4 overtimes in which the charter school defeated St. Anne's in boys basketball 32-30. An exciting game. It went 3 overtimes and then a sudden death in that 4th overtime. And that's one of the longer games I can remember. Right over at Kerr-McGee on Saturday, the Youth Basketball League gets underway. They have an 8-week season, which begins tomorrow. Games all day. The 5- and 6-year-olds play from 9 to 12. And then after that, it's the older kids playing until about 6 o'clock tomorrow. That's your sports for this Friday. Have a good weekend. Tom Heck, KZGN Sports.
So that's the news for today. Also at KZGN-TV, know you have a choice in what you watch for your news. We all thank you for choosing KZGN-TV, Ridgecrest's only locally owned community TV station. Now stay tuned for Ridgecrest Talk, coming up next.